Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. My name is Paul Sanneman. I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help contractors build great teams. And Heather Ripley is my guest today from Ripley PR. And Heather, tell me a little about your background and why people should listen to you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, Paul. My background is heavily in the marketing side of things. I started PR about 20 years ago. And earlier in my career, I worked for Clockwork Home Services, then parent company of Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, Mr. Sparky, and 1 Hour Heating and Air, managing their PR. And got them on Celebrity Apprentice in 2009 and later left for the agency side of things. I started my business about 12 years ago.
Okay. Now, can you explain for the people listening, this most people listening to small businesses between $1 million and probably 20 million. And they're in home services, they're in, various kinds of construction, sometimes remodeling, sometimes home building. So what is the difference between PR, which is public relations, and marketing?
The easiest way to understand it is think about marketing as everything that you do as a company to sell your product or service. That falls under the marketing umbrella. Then you've got advertising, which is your paid media. And then you've got PR, which is earned media. That's the easiest way to look at it. If you think about a time when you've seen maybe a competitor interviewed on the local TV news, that's PR. Somebody got that for them by reaching out to a journalist or a reporter and telling them that this was a good story idea for them.
So, for example, to get on Shark Tank, that's PR, right?
Yes.
Okay, because one of my friends doing it. So, yeah. So tell me that. So let's say there's three buckets. There's PR, there's marketing, and then there's, I guess, sales. I'm going to say that marketing is everything you do to get the phone to ring that costs you money. And sales is everything that happens after the phone rings. I'm going to call PR everything you do to deserve being heard about by others that you're not paying for directly. Is that fair?
That's fair. That's a good way to look at it. I think PR done the right way can also help make the phone ring because you're building your company.
You're not paying somebody. You're not paid per click. You're not paying for SEO. You're paying someone like a PR agency who knows the right people and how to make you look good to get on various media. So old days it was news and television and newspaper. And now I guess it's all about social media and stuff. So how does PR work? Let's say I'm a home service business. How do I get PR to work for me?
Usually I'll have a short, brief talk with the owner, find out, have you ever been on the news before? What do you have going on in your business? Likely they've added a service line or they've moved offices, they rebranded. Something like that has happened. Usually we can do a press release for that, send it out to the local news and pitch your company as a local expert. It takes time. It takes momentum building to position your company as the go-to. But then when you have a weather event or heaven forbid something bad happens like a crisis, they know that you're a good company and they'll talk to you about it.
Now, are PR events like supporting the local baseball team, becoming active in the community, donating to stuff, becoming a, sort of a pillar in the community of an outstanding citizen? Does that qualify as PR?
It can be. There's a fine way to share that. And most of the contractors that I talk to don't want to tell their community about all the good that they're doing, but there is a way to do it. And what we do is sometimes called spin for a reason. But what we're going to do is talk to the recipient organization, the recipient of those dollars or funds, and craft a press release from their standpoint because it sounds better. ABC organization receives X dollars from XYZ Plumbing Company, then XYZ Plumbing Company gives X dollars to ABC organization. So there's a way to do it where it's that good is talked about in a proactive, positive manner rather than tapping yourself on the back.
Now, how does PR work like with SEO? Because SEO, you do blogs, you do, YouTube videos, backlinks, all that kind of stuff. So how do you integrate with somebody who's hired to do the search engine optimization? How does that work?
That's a good question, because we're seeing more and more SEO companies are selling PR as a way to impact your SEO. We like to tell our clients that PR will positively impact your SEO, but we don't do it for SEO. So inserting some of those keywords into our press releases makes sense, but you can't overdo it. Our goal is to get a journalist to say, yes, that's newsworthy, we want to pick it up. And if you have too many keywords stuffed into the press release, a journalist is going to see right through that and they'll say that's advertising, and they'll throw it in the trash.
Well, what's the fine line between advertising and PR?
Good question. With advertising, you can control 100% of the message. So kind of think about it that way. If you're interviewing with a journalist, it's still going to be up to them to tell the story that they want to tell. So your job is to tell your story, and their job is to turn it into a story that's interesting for their viewership or readers. So you're not paying for it. You can't really control how big your logo is or how often your name is said, all of that stuff like you can in advertising.
Now, I can call it a fine line, but lots of times as an owner of a company, people let me up and go, oh, well, we'll give you ABC article as long as you spend so much money with us in advertising. So they have a journal, they have, some kind of media out there, whether it's digital or real. And they say, well, if you pay for advertising, we'll give you, journal space. How does that work? Is that the same thing?
Yeah, well, we see that. We're seeing it more and more, because you have to kind of remember journalists are losing their jobs. Advertising, they're not selling as many ads. So there used to be a very distinct line between your advertising department and a journalist department. But now they're sort of starting to blend together, and journalists are asking people to do them a favor and buy ads, and advertising saying, well, we'll give you some editorial if you buy ads. So we're seeing more and more of that. But usually if that happens, what you mentioned, it'll say advertorial at the top. It's still kind of a sponsored editorial piece. So it's not quite the same as a true earned media piece.
Okay, so let's say you take over, you're doing PR for, there's a $3 million service company, they're a plumbing company, a roofing company. How much do you charge, and what actually do you do for them?
Well, the price we charge can vary, because we can work with a client on a 5-week campaign where we do a press release, we pitch the media, we get as many stories as we can, and then we go away. So you guys feel the effects of it. We teach you how to share it on your social media. Something like that could cost around $3,000. Then we have companies that ongoing throughout the year, they might have multiple services. So one month we're pitching plumbing, and then the next month we're pitching something with heating and air, and then the next month it might be electrical services. So we have enough to rotate where we're not a bother to the local journalists and the local reporters there. We're giving them something that's actually newsworthy at a good time. So bigger companies might be able to do something ongoing throughout the year, whereas it might make sense for a company just to do something 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay. So also now things have changed, because in the old days there was newspapers and radio and TV, and now it's all about LinkedIn and Facebook and all this. How has that shifted between I call it conventional advertising, which is radio, newspaper, television, that kind of thing in the old days, and new social media, which is all the social media channels? How has that shifted, and YouTube channels and that kind of thing?
It has shifted because just about everyone can be a journalist now. But for our contractor clients who are serving a consumer or homeowner audience, we're still going after that conventional media, TV, radio, print, newspapers. Sometimes there's little magazines, lifestyle magazines and things like that that make sense in your local market. For a B2B company, which we also help, we've worked with Service Titan for 8+ years, and Bradford White. We work with those types of companies too. For them, we are looking at LinkedIn and some of these more social channels because that's where their audience is more, and that's where they're looking for information. But for the homeowner audience, we're still going out after that traditional media.
Okay. I've always wondered, how do you tell if PR works? Because it's one of those, like, when the phone rings, was it my SEO? Was it, well, paid ads easy because your CRM is going to link all that stuff together. But when somebody says, "Oh, I heard of you somewhere," or whatever, I mean, how do you justify, for lack of a better term, whether the PR campaign worked or not?
It's hard. That's the $1 million question. We hope there's causation and correlation from PR, but it's very, very difficult to track whether that homeowner called you because they saw you on TV last night versus they saw one of your trucks on the road. It could have been both. So it's very hard. We tell our clients that you may not see dollar for dollar ROI with PR at first, but over time, it's like one of our clients said, it's like planting an oak tree. It's once it takes root, it's hard to destroy. So basically you're building your company's reputation and you're building yourself and your brand as a really credible, good company. And PR takes a little while to do that. But once it happens, it's harder to destroy it.
Well, now a lot of people say that about SEO, right? Unless you're going to spend 6 months to a year, don't even bother because it takes a long time. So how do you know whether your SEO is working or your PR is working? Because you're looking at a budget of both, right? Is it not just, you just won't be able to, you just got to like do it on faith, or how does that work?
Well, our clients sometimes will hear it. They'll hear people say, "Oh, I called because I saw your owner on the news last night." So if they do, hopefully your call taker's making a note of that and they tell someone. But ultimately, we as your agency, we don't know. We rely on the owner to tell us, the call takers to ask those questions, and hopefully they can see, and we can see the web traffic going up, the press release traffic, referring people to your website. So it's hard to measure exactly how PR is working. It's not like a traditional marketing tool.
Right. So do you think that how big at large does a company need to be in order to for PR to make sense? Is it 2 million, 10 million?
I say PR should make sense the day you open your door, but you can do some of it yourself. So if you start a business, you could write your own press release, or you could pitch your own media, tell them, "Hey, I open my doors for business. Here's what I do. Here's how I do it. Here's how I'm different. And just keep me in mind if you ever want to talk about the business." So you could do that.
So I'm guessing if I go to ChatGPT and say, "Okay, well, I want to do PR in Springfield, Missouri," or pick a place, right? Can you give me all the media, all the television stations, all the people I need to talk to and their contact information? It should come up with that in theory, right?
I don't know if they'll have the contact information. Sometimes you can go to your website, you can go to the local NBC channel and look at all your producers. If you want to pitch a morning segment, you'll see the morning producers and you can reach out to them. What you don't want to do is blast everyone at the network about your news. You want to pick one, reach out to that person, and so on. So it's a little bit more strategic than just emailing everybody, because you want to be a true partner. You don't want to spam them. Right.
So then you have to find out in your local area which journalists count and don't count, and who you like and who you don't like, and get in touch with those people, and then have them release things on somewhat of a regular basis. But can you give me some example of where, I mean, you've been doing this for years, where PR has made a difference?
Oh gosh, yeah. Some of my favorite stories are very different. One of my very first clients was Gold Medal Service. Mike Agliaro told me that he wanted to sell his business within a few years. He wanted to own the New Jersey market, but also win some awards. So my strategy for him was get all of New Jersey talking about Gold Medal, but also reaching out to some of the national publications and outlets. And I ended up getting him in a Success magazine and CNBC and MSNBC, and we got lots of TV segments that were national. He sold his company. And then Blue Frog Plumbing and Drain is another one. He wanted to sell the company within 6 months, ideally 6 to 12 months. He sold the company after we started PR. So a lot of different stories, but we can help with handoffs from generation to generation. If you've been the company face and you want to make your son the face, we can help with that. We can help with acquisitions, not only selling your company, but also if you want to buy other companies, doing media coverage around that. So it can be very different depending on what your goals are.
So obviously, since, my personal view is that AI has shifted a lot of stuff. And the big thing is AI has made a lot of private equity companies not so interested in the traditional things they used to spend money on.
Sure.
Because you can get an attorney or a doctor or psychiatrist on your phone these days, right? It's an app. And so I know a guy fighting a legal case with AI. So it's like, those industries are going to be radically disrupted by artificial intelligence. Whereas it's a long time for AI can put on a roof, can build a house, do that kind of stuff. It's going to be a while, right? So one of my thoughts is that it's going to be easier, how to put it this way, that there's a lot of capital coming into this industry, tons of it, hundreds of millions of dollars. And I would think if you want to sell your company in the next couple of years, it's a good time to do it because there's a lot of cash out there. So probably if you have intention to sell your company, being well known in the media and having a good reputation is going to, increase the multiple you can sell your company for, right? So, okay,
yeah.
cool. So I would say, anybody listening to this, my guess is pretty much anybody listening does not have a PR company. They probably all have a marketing company, all have a sales company, a PR company. So Heather, if they want to get a hold of you, how does it work?
Yeah, my website is ripleypr.com. My email's easy. It's hripley@ripleypr.com. You can either email me, call me. There's the phone numbers on our website. I'm happy to talk to anybody, any client, any size, and just figure out your goals. And I'll be honest with you, if it's something you should do yourself at this point in your business, if your business isn't large enough or whatever, I'll tell you that and I'll tell you how to do it. But we work with companies of all sizes, helping them from the day they open their doors to the day they sell. So I love serving the industry.
Great. Okay, Heather. Well, anybody who doesn't have a PR agent, which is my guess, everybody listening to this podcast, should probably give Heather a call and at least look at that opportunity. Thank you, Heather. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.